So women, would run through bunches of husbands, and men would often have 2 or 3 or 4 women because men died often, and there weren't enough. You couldn't have one man, one woman, because there were a whole lot more women who were alive than men who were alive, because women were valuable, men weren't.
Men were getting killed.
Men were valuable, but they were dispensable. The things they had to do ended up getting them killed. So that's the way it works. So for a woman, moving from one man to another was almost expected in her lifetime. It was unusual to get with a man early on, young, and stay with that man for her whole life, because that was a tough thing to have happen back in those days. So women have to deal with a lot of insecurity there in their relationship. They don't know. When all the men go off to war, they don't know who's coming back, if anybody.
Yeah.
They don't know. But they've got kids and they've got, things they need to survive somehow. So women have always had more insecurity to deal with men. In some ways, they're better at dealing with that insecurity, because that's always been a part of their life, things they needed to do to get by. Men probably have a little more trouble dealing with that sort of insecurity. But so that's how we're different. The reason Homo sapiens didn't wink out like all the rest of them is because we're sexier. We have more sex, we have more babies, and we split the job. Everybody doesn't do everything. No. Women have babies and take care of them. Men take care of women. Women take care of their babies, and they take care of their men, because they need their men to be healthy and fit to take care of them, you see? So everybody takes care of everybody else. That's how that works. Now you can see the instincts have played throughout our history. Okay, so you start with that and you end up in the early, 1,000 years ago, women stayed in the house pretty much. They didn't go outside, because if they took a walk outside, they'd liable to be grabbed up, stuffed in a bag, and taken someplace else where they could have babies for some other group, you see? So they tended to be kind of stay around the home where they were protected, don't go, tripsing out in the bushes someplace, because it was dangerous for them to be there.
To not want to be out
exactly
late at night, and so we probably got a natural instinct to that. So if we have a fear that we're going to be snatched, well, then we're going to be sitting there making these things happen to ourselves because we've got a fear of it, and so it's just bringing it right to you.
That's some of it that creates that probability of things like that if you're fearful of them, right?
And so
the women also have a instinct to not just go off into the woods. They're a little more risk adverse. They don't want to take those kinds of risks. They'd rather not. The guys are
wait a minute, there may be another tribe over there.
Yeah, the guys are a lot less risk adverse. Right. They take risks, and they take risks that risk their life, because that's part of just the way they are. They do things that are and there's lots of things. Why would men leave their women and children and go fight in a war? Why wouldn't they say, let somebody else do it? I can stay with my woman and my child. But men, by the droves, will just go join a war, right?
The protection instinct.
Because if the tribe doesn't survive, nobody survives. You see?
Right.
The tribe, the group, that's survival. And the bigger it is, the more survival, the more survival potential it has. So you protect the tribe, because if that fails, everybody dies. Everybody's lost. At least all the men are, and the whole thing just falls apart. So the men will go off to a war because they're protecting their tribe.
Even if it's not their tribe, they're going off to a war, and they're in somebody else's tribe over there.
Because that's their tribe, their country, however they see that. Yeah. So that was another thing that the sociologists were. How is it that men will walk off from their families and their jobs and their women and their children, who they have this instinct to take care of, but they'll let that instinct go in order to go off and fight a war? Well, that's because the tribe is the first priority, because without that, no one survives. So you maintain that at all costs.
Right. It's above the individual.
It's above the individual. So guys have this thing that they go do that, and they put their lives at risk doing all sorts of things because that's what guys do. You know, women are more risk adverse. They don't do that.
Like driving motorcycles really fast.
Yeah, like driving motorcycles really fast, you know. Yes. Yeah, that's why you see these guys who, you know, work on the high power lines, you know, up in the air, you know, hanging out of a helicopter to, you know, fix something that's, you know, somewhere in the woods. And, you know, you don't see a whole lot of women doing that. Now, it's not that no women will do it. You know, there are some women who will do that. There are some men who would rather take care of babies than do anything else. You know, that's this flexibility, you know. That's the outliers on it. So you have some females who are very masculine. You have some men who are very feminine. It's all across the board. We have people everywhere. Like I say, anything that can happen does happen.
Right.
It's just mostly it happens this way. But there's all the rest of the stuff that happens as well. So it's not, you know, again, I'm talking about the fat part of the curve. There are some women who would make great soldiers. There are women who would hang out of that helicopter to fix that wire. That's just their cup of tea. You know, they do those things. They have women who jump out of planes and parachutes to fight forest fires.
Yeah.
And they do it very well. You know, it's not that women can't do things like that. Women should be able to do anything they want to do that they're qualified to do.
Yes.
You know, they should not be held back. So that's another subject. We have a time where our environment has changed dramatically. So we have all these instincts because our environment was so violent and so so insecure. You know, the environment, everybody was kind of insecure. Yeah, it was a very rough, violent times. Survival was hard, was very hard. So we have these instincts. They kept us from winking out as a species. So here we are. Now, it's not so bad for a woman to get out of her cave and walk around and go shopping or do whatever she wants to do, get in her car and drive someplace. She's not going to get captured, thrown in a bag and run off to some other group, you know. Yeah, that's not going to happen. So we've got instincts, though, that were built at that time. So now we have to change some, and we have to say, you know, the women can get out, so they should get out, and they ought to be able to be anything that they want to be. They ought to be able to be the doctors and the brain surgeons and the construction workers and, you know, the soldiers or the people fixing wires, whatever they can do and are good at, whatever they're qualified for, they should be able to do. Mm-hmm. You know, they need to have complete freedom to do what they want to do. But when you give that to women, what you find is very few of them really, really want to be engineers. Very few of them really want to hang out of helicopters and fix high tension wires.
They're interested in babies, family.
Yeah, they're interested in babies and family and relationships. And that sort of thing. That's what because their whole world depended on relationship.
Yes.
See? So females they're masters of the inside world, the relationship world. You know? And in that world, they get by using their intellects. They use their intellects to get around in that relationship world. So they notice things about people. They notice, you know, that this thing's changed or that thing's changed, or Susie's feeling sad, or, you know, whatever. They pick up on that, all that stuff of who's feeling, who's doing what, and they have their intellects engaged in that. So they're the masters of that area. Men are the masters of the outside world. Okay, now women kind of stumble their way through the outside world for the most part. They really don't care how that car works. All they want to know is when they turn it on and they step on the gas, the thing will go, right? And when they step on the brake, it'll stop. Right. Yeah. Don't try to tell them
how it works. Don't even tell me.
Exactly. Don't tell me. You don't want to know.
But they want to tell you. There's this thing, it's connected here, and they want to tell you.
And the eyes are glazing over.
What is he talking about?
Yeah, but the guys want to know all that. Okay,
Yeah.
so the ladies kind of just kind of, I don't know, they get by the best they can in the outside world mostly, but the inside world of a relationship, they're sharp and they really understand what's happening. Guys pretty much understand what's happening, and they need to understand what's happening in that outside world. They got to know how that car works.
Right.
They want to be able to fix it themselves when it doesn't work, and that's important to them. But they just kind of drift, not really knowing up from down in the relationship world. They have no idea. What? I was supposed to get you something for our anniversary? Oh, yeah. Right, we had an anniversary. Oh, I don't know. I just forgot all about that. Because that's not where they apply their intellect. Their intellect is applied to the outside world, and the inside world, they just kind of stumble through, get by best they can, just the way ladies do in the outside world. They don't think that way. So that's part of what makes the males and the females have difficulties with each other, is because we're different. Our instincts make us very different, and we tend to think that everybody is like us. So guys think that, you girls, of course you want to know how an internal combustion engine works. Here, let me explain it to you. It's important, And, because we think that girls are going to be like us, and you think that guys, how could you forget the anniversary? That's important. And the guy says, huh, anniversary? Really? Oh, yeah, we did have an anniversary then. And it's not important to him because relationship stuff is not what he does. So we have differences there that had to do with our instincts. See, our instincts still created that thing where the guys they were masters of the outside world, and they stumbled through the inside world, and the girls were master of the inside world. They stumbled through the outside world. Yeah. So that's the difference. So there's people that say, oh, male, female, they're all the same. It just matters how you treat them and what kind of toys you give them. It's like, no. Males and females are totally different. Matter of fact, in human beings, they're more different than almost any other mammal.
Yes.
The difference between males and females in humans is huge, because everybody didn't do everything, because we split, and women did this and the men did that, and that causes lots and lots of differences between them. We're between female and male dogs, or female and male, cats or horses or whatever. Most everybody does do most of everything, even though some are better at some things than others, and the females have the babies, but still, they do a lot of the similar kinds of things and act in similar sorts of ways. But with humans, two totally different things altogether. Matter of fact, a woman from, say, New York, and a woman from the jungle, Brazil, and a woman from rural China have more in common than a woman from New York has with a man in New York. They have more in common. The gender is a stronger connection. They have more in common with those women all over the place. Yeah, there'll be little cultural differences, but they'll understand each other right away.
Yep.
But they have much more in common across cultures than they do even from a male in their own culture.
Yes.
So it's
what happens to males when in the emotional world, and he's trying to help his wife? It's like, well, let me tell you how to fix it, because he's really not understanding anything about what's going on in her, because of this, the inner world of emotion and feeling that women tend to have to deal with, because we nurture children and we have to feel these things and be sensitive to them. And the man, his eyes glaze over. He's like, what are we feeling? What are we doing here?
That's right. Well, he's not intellectual in the relationship world.
No.
He just stumbles around, he's basically intuitive in the relationship world. He just goes by on mostly his intuition or what seems right at the time. Right. But he doesn't really think in that world very much. And for women, it's the same way in the outside world. And the women in the outside world, they just take it the way it is. They learn how to deal with it and how to manipulate it, but they're more intuitive in that world and not so much intellectual in that world.
Right.
So it's just the opposite. So men get into, the female world, and they just don't understand. They just don't have a clue what's going on, because it's like women, they seem to be from another planet. They just, I don't understand why they do what they do or how they feel that. And when men are intellectual in the outside world and a problem comes up, well, you solve the problem. And you get together and you talk about it, you find a solution, and everybody says, okay, and you march off. Well, in a relationship world, it doesn't work that way. It's not like you're cleaning an engine to find a problem, You're dealing with females, and that's different than the outside world. And the same men and women have this trouble interacting with each other because each thinks the other is like them, and they're not. No. And they don't understand what the differences are. That's why the guy is going to try to tell you how an engine works, and he's going to say, oh, look, you got a problem here. Let me solve your problem. Here's what you need to do. And what he doesn't understand is it's not the problem that's the problem. It's the fact that you're upset that's the problem.
Right.
You see, it's your feeling. It's the emotion that's the problem. It's not the thing. He wants to fix the thing, because in his world, emotion is just a problem. Because if you're working with a bunch of guys, whether you're catching rabbits or tigers or fighting a war, emotions just get in the way. There's a job to do, and you need to stay focused, and you do your job, and that's the way it is.
Well, how are you going to kill Bambi if you were super emotional? You would have just sat down and cried. I don't want to kill Bambi, but all my babies will starve if I don't. So see, that's really not fair, because guys, they had to do what they had to do to help everybody survive, and they evolved that way, so they can't help it. Those emotions, they can't do both. They couldn't kill Bambi and just be this emotionally person too. That's conflicting.
So they take their intellectualism in the outside world and want to apply it to the inside world of relationship, and of course it doesn't work, because the inside world of relationship is not intellectual at all. It's all feeling. It's emotional. And females have the same issue. They want to take their feeling and their intuitive self out into the outside world, and it doesn't work out so well for them, and people don't take them so seriously, because they're not really focused on the thing. They're focused on the feeling around the thing.
Well, the car's just upset. The car's upset, and you need to speak to it kindly for it to run right. That's how it works.
Got to be nice to that car.
And be nice to that car.
So anyway, it's interesting. Interesting. The male female, the gender thing is a very interesting topic, and we've hit on some of the details, I guess, that at least most of the people under the fat part of the curve can relate to that. Now, all the people that aren't under the fat part of the curve, they can still find themselves in that, because they're still human, and they still have a lot of those same instincts.
Yes.
Now, speaking of instincts, though, instincts also come, some people with very strong instincts, and some people aren't so strong instincts, Again, there's variability. So you have, again, the fat part of the curve where people have these instincts that are relatively strong, and you have people out on the other side that their instincts aren't all that strong. And we get dogs and cats that way too. I had a cat that had baby kittens, and she had no idea what to do with them. Her instincts just weren't there to mother them or nurse them or anything. It's like she had the kittens, and like, what are those things, and where did they come from, and what am I supposed to do with them?
Oh no!
She had no idea what to do with them. So instinct just wasn't there. So the instincts are very strong in some people.
Yes.
So, okay, if you have very strong instincts, then you're going to really be pulled, if you're a guy, toward that good-looking woman, and you're really going to be pulled, if you're a woman, to that powerful guy. And it's just, if your instincts are weaker, then not so much. So we also have to think of that too. Most of us are somewhere in the middle, where the instincts are there, but we can override them pretty easily. If we have a will to do so, we can just say, no, inappropriate. I can't do that. Not now. I made a promise not to do that, so I'm not.
But I'm not going to feel guilty, because I'm human.
Right. But I'm not going to
feel the way I do.
Exactly. You see, that's what drives you crazy, is if you deny it.
Yeah.
And then you say, oh, I'm a bad person. Yeah. I'm an awful person. And that then starts to get into a negative thing, which then creates more negative stuff. And it's all just,
I'm so bad.
yeah, it creates problems for everybody when you're like that. So know you have instincts, accept them, don't get crosswise with them, say no when you have to, but be aware they're there and deal with them in a positive way. And you'd like to live your life such a way that your instincts and your life coincide perfectly. You see? That's the way you'd like to have your life, that you are able to be that really sexual woman with that man, and it works perfectly because the two of you really want to be together, and that's what you want to do. You see, now your instincts and your life are in line with each other. Great. That is the best place to be in. But if you don't happen to be in that place, then at least don't let them get crosswise with each other, because that will make you neurotic. You can't
denying it.
Yeah, you can't tell your instincts to sit down and be quiet, because you can.
Repression doesn't work.
Yeah, you can
pop up over here.
Yeah, right. You can repress them, but that is not good. That just makes you crazier.
Yes.
The more you repress them, so that's not good. You just accept them, deal with them, live your life the best way you can. Try to be low entropy, and that's the game we're in.
Make the best choices you can.
Yeah. So that's the male-female thing, I guess, in short. There's probably more details there, but it solves a lot of mysteries.
It does solve a lot of mysteries.
Yeah, it makes it more understandable why things are like that. Why would large breasts be a survival value? They've been able to figure that out. They still don't. If you ask us, an anthropologist or a sociologist, they'll have no idea why their survival value and why men would like that. What's the point of that?
Yeah,
and it's not like other mammals aren't like that, but that's survivability. Yeah, if a man wants his genetics to move forward, then that's a better bet.
Yep. Because
that's a better bet.
When he gets killed, the one with the largest breast, she's going to have a bigger probability of being taken by another male that will finish raising his kids too,
right,
along with the other ones they're going to have in the future.
Right, exactly. And if she looks like a man, then she'll probably be killed before they realize that she's not a man. That would be an accident, and oh no, that would be terrible. We killed a woman here by mistake. You see,
mistake, and that's so interesting, Tom. When me and my sisters, there's three of us, we were young. My father, he would not let my mother cut our hair. He said, "Oh no, their hair, just let their hair grow." And that's got to be tied into that instinct of,
absolutely.
Oh, no. If you cut their hair off, that'll look like a boy and they'll kill him.
Yeah, that's just all part of the.
My sister was so mad. It was like,
it's part of the instincts. Yes. So men like women with long hair because they're more survivable. Now, of course, today that's silly. They're not more survivable today, but those instincts are still there. And they're going to be there for the next millennia too. So you might as well learn to live with them.
We have to learn to live with them.
Yeah. Now they will change because the environment's changed. But instincts like that change very slowly. They may take many thousands of years before the instincts actually change. We have plenty of humans now. We're not worried about going in. We're not going to become extinct. We don't have that problem anymore. But we're still just as sexy as we always were, because that's the way we are. That's what defines Homo sapien, and we're Homo sapien. So the environment has changed, but those instincts are going to keep on chugging for a long, long time. Very slowly, the pressure will change a little bit, just a little bit. And, a couple of thousand years go by, maybe they'll be a little different than they are now, but it isn't something that changes quickly. Now, we can change some pieces of it, but we still have to kind of keep those basic instincts in mind. Like, we can let our women out of the cave and walk around and do what they want to do and all that sort of stuff. and not worry that they're something, we have to watch them all the time and make sure that they're safe, right?
We can stand down.
So we can back off of that needing to protect thing so much. And women aren't also anymore so beholden to a guy. She can get a job and take care of herself. She doesn't necessarily have to have a man take care of her or take care of her children. She can take care of herself and her children, you see? So things are changing, but the instincts are still there. The instincts are still there.
Them. Know that they're operating, so because that not knowing is what's causing a lot of the tangled up mess.
Right, exactly.
Because it's like, well, you just have low characters. Like, nope, I'm a human being. I'm a Homo sapien, and this is what we got. This is what we're doing. But I'll do my best to understand what's happening here.
Yeah,
so I can override that instinct if I want to.
Right, and keep keep everybody in the loop. That keep all the stakeholders aware of what's going on and why it's going on, so that you're not hurting people. People are understanding each other rather than putting requirements on each other. It's not like, okay, I own you. You're my wife now. I own you. And I'm your husband. You own me. That's not a good thing. I don't want to come home to somebody because they own me or because I'm obligated. I want to come home to somebody because that's where I want to be. Yes. That's the person I want to be with.
Yeah. I like them.
Yeah, that's the way it needs to be. And that might change. So that might change, and you have to be open to that and secure enough that if that changes, then it changes. But
and you'll be all right,
and you'll be just fine.
And what you really need will have an opportunity to come to you, because if you're in a situation you don't like and you're not happy, then and you're bound to that, then the opportunity for what you really need to come in can't, because you're hanging on to something that's not good for you. Or them, because they don't want to be there either. Right.
So it all tends to work out in the end, but we just have to not drive ourselves nuts in the process of getting there, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's what's important.
Yes, it is. Absolutely.
All right. Have we done our time? Let's see, 2 to 3. We've almost done 2 hours worth, haven't we? Not quite. We got a little bit of a slow start. We've done 1.5 anyway.
So what do you want to do? You want to finish up on the next one?
We've only done one question, haven't we?
Yep.
Give me a number 4. What's number 4?
Let's see. Well, you did what you usually do. You answered quite a few of them with one thing.
You knew what the other ones were going to be.
You knew what the other ones were, yeah. One of them was, can you explain how this demonstration activates the programming or instinct that forms the pair bond and makes the bond stronger?
Well, yes, I think we've already talked about that, because when a guy does something that resonates with a girl's instincts, she likes him. And when a girl does something that resonates with a guy's instincts, he likes her. So yes, if you can get, get those instincts buzzing because of what you do and say, then that's going to make that pair bond strong. That's going to, and if you don't do those things, it'll make that pair bond weak. So, you have to think, what is it that guys want? What is it that girls want? And you need to give them what they want, because that's their instincts. And if you satisfy those things they want, then they'll be just as happy as they can be. Right. So that's the whole thing. You see, if both people are trying real hard to give the other person everything they want, then they will be happy themselves because they'll get everything they want.
Right.
You get what you want by giving what the other person wants. That's the way that is. So, if a guy really understands what a girl needs, and the feelings that she needs, and she needs to feel special, and she needs this, and if he understands that and he can give her that, then he'll probably get all the sex that he wants. If he doesn't give her that, then he's not going to get nearly what he wants, because she's not going to feel like it. You see? So they work together. And she has to give him all the sex he wants in order for to get him to give her all the things she wants. So it's like it has to work both ways. So what you do is try to make the other person happy. And that has to start. Somebody has to start that. So the guys need to start it because the guys are the natural, ones to lead that relationship. So they need to understand their female, ask her, what do you want? What makes you happy? And if a purple wall is the answer, well, then paint the wall. Do what she needs, make her happy. And if it costs a little money and takes a little time and is totally unnecessary, it doesn't matter. Do it anyway because she's special. And if you do it anyway, she'll feel special. And if she feels special, she'll really like to have sex with you because she feels special.
Yep. And then it turns on her instinct. And what I was looking at was she's not going to just completely turn into someone like, I want you to do this and this and have a list for you when you get home every day. And I need you to do this. She's not going to turn around and just take complete advantage of you because she's going to start seeing, oh, wait, he's worked 12 hours today. And now I'm asking him to work 4 more hours to paint a wall. And she'll start thinking about what she's asking. And then she'll start but just in the, making her happy, it turns her instinct on to make you happy.
Right.
And then it works both ways. She won't take advantage of you. She'll start backing up, going, okay, I have everything I need.
And that is true, mostly under the fat part of the curve of let's say, self-centeredness. Because that self-centeredness, some people are very self-centered and some people are not so self-centered. Right. So under the fat part of the curve where people are kind of some self-centered, but not terribly self-centered, that's the way it is under the fat part of the curve. There's some of each. And then this end of the curve, they're terribly self-centered. And this end of the way out on the curve, they're totally not self-centered. But mostly in the middle, what you said is exactly right. But if you have somebody that is very self-centered, then they might take advantage of you. But then that's not really a person that you want to spend your life with.
Right.
So it works out just perfectly.
Fine. Then you find out, I don't want to be married to you. You need too much.
Yeah, right. Too high maintenance, and they will take advantage of you. But the thing is, if that's the way they are, you'd like to find that out anyhow. So you see, there's no reason not to do that. Give her everything she wants. Give her what makes her happy. And if she takes advantage of you, well, that's an important lesson. You need to.
Shame on her.
Yeah, shame on her. You need to move elsewhere.
Yeah, it's time to go. There's good men and there's good women. There's bad.
Yes, exactly. So if you get one of those people that's just terribly self-centered and they take advantage of you, then that's a choice you have to make. Do you is that being taken advantage of, something that bothers you enough that you want to end the relationship? If it is, then you end it. If it's not, then you put up with it. You let it be. Say, okay, I work 12 hours at work. I work, 4 hours when I get home, but it's okay. I don't mind because I love her. That's okay too. But you get to pick where your tolerance and where your levels are and what you do. But if you're not self-centered, then those things are easy. They just work out.
And then she gets happy and then you get happy too.
Yeah. So, it really only takes one person to have a good relationship. It doesn't really take two. If you have one person that is extremely not self-centered, then they don't mind working, 12 hours and then another 4, because it's not a problem to them. Okay, they're working, but they're working for their wife, or they're working for the boss, or they're working for whatever. But they want to do that because they want to give. So they don't mind giving for their wife. Even if the wife doesn't give much back, they still don't mind giving for the wife because they're not self-centered and giving is what they do. So one person is enough to make a really good relationship. But you don't find a lot of those people who are really that free of fear that they're that, little self-centered. So in the real world, where most people are self-centered, then, push comes against shove there, and there's sometimes time to leave, and time to stay. But it really only takes, if you're in a problematic relationship, you can realize that you can make that a good relationship all by yourself. As long as it's not physically painful. You know, if you're getting beaten, well, that's different, then you need to leave. But if it's just that the guy doesn't pay attention and he's too self-centered to really think that much about you, it's all right. You can still have a really good relationship for him if you have no self-centeredness. You can still have a good relationship. So you could fix it. But most people, they have limits as to, how much grief they get and how much they give. It's, well, I'm not getting enough of what I need, so I need to go. But see, that's self-centeredness. But also,
it's not about you, it's about others.
Yeah. So also realize, that's another thing to realize that you are some self-centered, and that is an issue that you have to work with, and that you can solve almost all problems just by becoming less self-centered, even if the other person doesn't change at all.
Right.
You can solve most of those problems. So if you want that to be a really strong lesson and challenge to lose self-centeredness, well, then work with it. And what'll happen is that you'll grow up a whole lot. That relationship will then be something that was really growing for you. It maybe wasn't the greatest relationship ever, but boy, did you grow up a lot, you see? And what's the point? And what's the point of being here? It's growing up.
Growing up.
Yeah.
And
so those are all, those
are
are
yourself to even be in that relationship.
Yeah. So these are all variables in the mix. But again, realize that you are some self-centered, and because of that, you have certain needs that you need to have met. And if you don't have those met, then you're unhappy. Okay, so realize that that is about you, your needs, you're unhappy, and that you can change that. That's not like it's not like you were born that way, and it's not that you can't help it. You can change that, but you have to change yourself, and it's not necessarily easy, but you can change yourself. Now, you may not want to, or it may be too hard, or you may just say, if I don't get my needs met, then I'm gone. A lot of people are like that, but they don't grow up much. They're looking for somebody who can give them what they want, and it's all about them. They're not thinking about what can I give and what did I give to that. They only think about what did I get from that? Is that satisfactory? You see, that's the problem. That's the problem with most relationships. The people go into it with ideas of what they need. They fall in need. They say, oh, I'll meet your needs if you meet my needs. Right. And for a while, that works. But that wears old because it's not real. It's not really based on love. It's a bargain. It's a deal that you make. And with time, it tends to fall apart. But if you think, that it's about what can I give? How can I make that person happy? What can I do that makes them really happy? And then try to be that, not just act it, but be it. It'll change your whole life because you'll grow up doing that. And even if your relationship isn't as great as it could be, it doesn't really matter. It's good enough, and you're growing up really, really well. So just different ways of thinking about the problem, a little different perspective. Sometimes that's all we need is just a different perspective about the problem. See it from a different viewpoint, and it can change the whole reality. Just change your perspective, and the whole reality can shift to be something entirely different.
That's for sure. It's an inside job.
Yeah, it's an inside job. That's it. All right, I think we've probably done enough.
Well, thank you for coming and joining us today on the front row seat. We really appreciate it.
Oh, well, you're quite welcome. Hopefully, we've talked about some things that people will find interesting, and those people that felt left out in the margins there, that we didn't talk about them. Sorry, but I think you're important, and I think you're very valuable, and I think that you make all the rest of us, grow, and you challenge us, and we challenge you, and it's all part of living and growing, and everybody is important. Everybody is important and everybody has gifts. And part of our growth here is to realize that and be more, inclusive of everyone and see everyone as, in terms of their potential contributions, not in terms of how you're different than me. And anything different than me is wrong. And anything different from me is bad, Right. That's such a self-centered, arrogant attitude. So everybody has gifts to give, has lessons to learn, and has lessons to teach.
Yes.
And we need to pay attention to all of it.
Fear, the unknown.
But exactly how these instincts interact with you and your life and what you're doing, I have no idea. I suspect that's more of a one-off. Each individual is a little different.
Yes.
Everybody's instincts are a little different. Mm-hmm. So if you talk about a whole bunch of people who are mostly the same, then you can say a lot of things about most people. But when you talk about people who are really unique, they kind of have to take it on themselves to say, how does, I'm very unique. How does this work for me? How do these instincts,
how do I relate to this?
Yeah, how do I relate to this? And it's not really something somebody's going to tell you. If there were 100 million of you, then yes, somebody could say, well, this is the way it is. But if there are 100 million of you, you'd be dominant. And the people that aren't like you would be the people who would be out in the tail someplace. And the whole thing would be flipped on its head, you see. So you just have to think about these instincts and what does that mean to you and how do they play and how strong do you have them or not have them? And they're just part of our humanity. And I guess the only lesson there for everybody, no matter where they are on the chart, is be easy with your instincts. Understand them and don't struggle with them. Don't necessarily let them run roughshod over you either.
Right.
But you're in charge.
Right.
But deal with them in a positive way. Okay. Well, we've done it. We've done another good one. Thank you, girls. Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you, Beth.
You're welcome. Thank you.
You're the best. And
absolutely,
as always, I love you more than rocks and frogs.
Really? Do you really love me that much? More than rocks and frogs?
Well, when I was a little girl, frogs were my toys. And I loved them. I played with them. I carried them around. Frogs was my thing.
Always have a frog in your pocket?
Half the time I'd have a frog in my back pocket. But now I'm from Texas. I was a rural, situation. So I played in creeks and hunted tadpoles and caught crawdads. And that was my world. And frogs was my favorite because their toes were so cute.
Oh, they have little suction cups on their toes, don't they? Some of them do.
Some of them do. And gecko toes are really cute too. So as a young child, I just thought they were wonderful. And I loved how they moved, how they went from the water. I would catch them as tadpoles. And then they would turn into a frog, and hop around. And not many things hop around like they do. And you know how they're just kind of unsteady. I just thought they were wonderful. Probably because I could catch them.
And they made great noises.
Yes.
They make great what?
Noises.
Noises?
Yeah.
I thought maybe you said sauces.
Oh. Frog sauce.
Frog sauce.